Charlie's defenders use a godly weapon. The people who are defending Charlie Kirk are using a godly weapon that cannot be overcome. When you're talking about God's light, darkness cannot overcome it. Because we hear in the Bible, a light shines in the darkness does not overcome it. Sometimes it's translated as the darkness cannot understand it. No, it cannot. And light and dark cannot coexist. And the people who support and love Charlie Kirk or loved him, I say love. Love doesn't die when someone is unalived. Love continues on. They're using an absolutely godly weapon. This, of course, was very evident when Erika Kirk addressed Charlie's enemies. She did it in a way of a wife who's making a very, very, very stern promise to them. But she also did this from a very godly position.
The evildoers responsible for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. They killed Charlie because he preached a message of patriotism, faith, and of God's merciful love. But they should all know this. If you thought that my husband's mission was powerful before, you have no idea. You have no idea what you just have unleashed across this entire country. To everyone listening tonight across America, the movement my husband built will not die. It won't. I refuse to let that happen. It will not die.
This is a wife still in love with her husband, acting upon love, building a movement based upon love, based upon the words of the gospel, based upon bringing people true eternal freedom. This is a deadly godly weapon to the people who are operating in darkness because it cannot be fought against. Because God's love conquers everything. And in the end, God wins. And when we stand with the Lord Jesus Christ, we win. So they're using a godly weapon that cannot be countered. And they're not the only ones. Erika Kirk's not the only one. I'll show you an example or two here in a second on some other ways people are supporting Charlie Kirk using this godly weapon that cannot be overcome. My friend Tim Cruikshank is a very loving man. He is about as gentle a Navy SEAL as you'll ever meet. That doesn't sound very Navy SEAL-like, does it? And yet, yep, Tim was deployed 3 times on our behalf as a medic attached to the SEAL teams. He was deployed in places like Babylon and Afghanistan and Iraq. And when he was on those teams dealing with real war, Tim began to think about life after war and what he wanted to do. Well, he wanted to go home and love his family. Tim was deployed immediately after one of his first child was born, deployed immediately after. He was one of those guys who saw the towers fall and knew, we're going to work, babe. So when he came home, he started Bone Frog Coffee, which honors Navy SEALs with every single bag because the Bone Frog is the insignia of a fallen SEAL. Every bag says God Country Team on it, and he honors it by what's the culture with what's in the bag. World-class coffee, either created by a coffee legend named Dave Stewart or mentored by Dave into the creation of these roasts. Go try this. Try the 6 4-ounce samples. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/Todd. Use code Todd at checkout. Save 10% on your first purchase. Use code Todd at checkout at bonefrogcoffee.com. And code Todd at checkout. Save 15% on subscription coffee. bonefrogcoffee.com/Todd. Terrence K. Williams loved Charlie Kirk, and as he sits back and watches what's going on in this environment, he decided to speak in a way that is difficult to counter because he uses the same exact godly weapon that Charlie Kirk's wife used.
And I want to give Charlie some credit here, okay? Back in 2019, Charlie Kirk helped a lot of young blacks get to the White House. He changed a lot of their lives. A lot of them never imagined going to the White House, and Charlie helped hundreds of young black boys and girls go to the White House. Charlie, thank you for that.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, man.
So for people who want to call Charlie a racist, kiss my black, use my language.
And we'll bleep that. He said kiss some part of his body. And man, to see Charlie again, here's what Terrence K. Williams wrote above that clip on Twitter. Charlie was not a racist, and I will not sit back and allow people to spread that lie. I gave Charlie Kirk his flowers last year and thanked him for helping hundreds of young black people get an invite to the White House back in 2019. He helped pay for most of their flights and hotels because it cost so much to travel. He didn't want them to miss out. He gave them an experience and opportunity of a lifetime, and yes, he helped me get an invite as well. I'm going to miss him so much. He stands for his friend, who his friend was. He does it in loving grace. There's others who've stood up and talked about what Charlie meant to them, and not even in a personal sense. Eli Steele is the son of the great and legendary Shelby Steele, one of the first black Americans to come out and call out the Democrat Party. He wrote a brilliant book called Unearned Loyalty, and man, he was called a race traitor. And he talked in a long note about how much Turning Points USA meant and how much it meant to black America, how much it meant to be welcomed into a movement rather than shunned by this movement. And he wasn't a big, close personal friend of Charlie Kirk, or at least he doesn't say he was, but it was Trayvon Martin's death that he referred to, which was responded to with an act of hatred by Barack Obama versus an act of love. The people who are defending Charlie using God's weapon of love, they cannot lose.